Now I'm in my 30s. A 12-year-old boy who's sitting on a computer and calling me whatever he wants to, making memes about me. I've already dealt with the 12-year-old boy when I was 12 years old. But even after I made a video about how bad it was, even after all the measures I've taken for self protection, these are not things that will ever end. Like trolling will, as long as I'm alive, maybe even after, it will not stop.
Hello and welcome to the DeadAnt chat room. I'm your host Bhanuj Kapil, and joining us today is comedian, Instagrammer, and Gen Z expert Supriya Joshi.
Yay! Woo! I never had in my life has anyone introduced me as Gen Z expert.
Well, I mean, some of us watch your Instagram.
Hello. Good to be here.
How often do people mistake you for the playback singer, the Saregama winner, Supriya Joshi?
No one has ever done that. Can you believe it? I have. I feel really bad because if you're watching this and you don't know, if you Google Supriya Joshi, you will not find me on the first two pages maybe, because more popular than me and more popular than I'll ever be is the singer called Supriya Joshi. She sings in Marathi, and I think she does Hindi music as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Supriya, you took a small break from social media a couple of years ago. But since then, especially during the pandemic, you've been focusing a lot on Instagram, especially. And I remember you said earlier that you're most comfortable when you're in front of the camera. So, in that sense, has this been a good opportunity for you to focus more on that specific sort of format?
Yes and no. Because yes, because I mean, in terms of recording videos and creating something in front of the camera, not much changed even during the pandemic, because there's nothing new in terms of work that I could do. At that time, I was just continuing what I always used to do. And no, because Instagram and Reels really exploded last year and even now. And you have to adapt to this sort of platform really quickly. And I am someone who takes a lot of time. I have to adjust to the idea of creating content in such a small amount of time, like a 30 seconds or 60 no, 30 seconds. So yeah, it's sort of like a double-edged sword. I feel like I started with Vine, which was like 7 seconds, and then you forget because it's gone. It's obsolete. So then you forget. Then you start making 1 minuters, and now nobody watches 1 minuters. Now everyone's watching 15 seconds. Yeah, it's a lot of retraining myself and my brain. That's why taking breaks is so important for me, because otherwise I will burn out like nobody's business. And I don't think that if I burn out totally, I will never come back. And I'm very close to never coming back many times. So yeah, breaks are important, essentially, is what I'm trying to say.
And you've been experimenting with formats. There's the A Day in 60 Seconds and the Nagishka series where you play a vamp, which I thought is very funny. So, to reference one of Norm Macdonald's jokes, where do you get your ideas from? Norm Macdonald used to do this bit where, when he had the show, he would ask his co-star to ask that question to every guest, and they would all laugh or be angry. But the serious question is like, what's your process when you're working with short form video?
I think the whole basis of my content creation is not thinking about it. I'm not a planner at all. People who have really come up on social media now, they plan and execute their content like months in advance, and so that's why they keep growing and growing and growing. But I just, as I said, I take my own time with it, or my idea comes to me when I'm just not thinking about it. So honestly, that is my process. I wish I could give you like an in-depth of, I sit and I script Nagishka like for a week before I shoot it. Nothing like that happens. I wake up one morning and I'm like, dude, I love Indian villains, female villains, and on television, and I think I love how over the top they are. And I want to pay my tribute to these women by creating this over the top character, and that's it. And then what is something that will affect this woman who is so dramatic? What is something? Okay, what's affecting her? She doesn't want to eat Loki for dinner. And so how is she going to react to not wanting to eat Loki for dinner? So then you go into this whole world. I feel like I've sort of become that person. Like, what is bothering Nagishka today? And I am Nagishka. So that's what happened. So, and it's so much fun. And also, one of my biggest content in general and content soundboard is my sister. So it's called soundboard only, no?
Yeah, sounding board.
Sounding board.
Yeah.
Sounding board is my sister. So we both of us have been doing this long before social media was ever a thing. We have created videos which are home movies, and so yeah, like I tell her this idea that, dude, I want to do this, and I want you to play the straight character in this, and she's like, yeah, dude, let's do it. So both of us are sort of like not overthinking things, content creators, but again, now it's because you get into the whole like, dude, I made this great video, according to me it's doing no numbers. So I wish that part of content creation wasn't there, because that's the worst part. But that is my process. My process is not thinking about it, creating the thing, letting it out into the universe, then add then whatever the universe wants to give it. So yeah.
So with Nagishka, what were some of the vamps? I remember Kamolika. I think she was quite a phenomenon, right? Oh, were there some others that you looked at for influence?
My two major inspirations are Kamolika and Ramola Sikand. These are my two favorite. I thought Kamolika, this thing was, she's the center of attention. She has to have everything her way, which Ramola Sikand also. But I think I'm inspired most by the makeup that they used to do on her, which was so extreme, and I love that. I love how you can just present yourself with like a gigantic bindi on your head on a normal day, and nobody cares about that. So I was like, that's so cool. Like, that's what I want to do on my face also. And I'm telling you, this is drag essentially, right? Like, you transform into another person using makeup, hair, and all, and it just makes you feel so amazing. Like, I just love doing characters like that, which are so like unbelievable, sort of. But my major two inspirations have been these two women only.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about vamps, especially like in the 90s, early 2000s, well, that was the first sort of, in these spaces, the first way that the modernized, westernized
Yeah.
woman with individual aspirations could break into these spaces was through the vamp character. So,
Absolutely.
like, in a sense, they're quite an interesting character to explore.
If you think about it, they are empowered in their own way. Like, they know what they want. They are presented negatively, but they know what they want. They want to marry Mihir Virani. I want to marry Mihir Virani. I want to do that. So, like, how do I achieve my goal? And they achieve it in whatever negative way, but they do. So that's what, they're so emboldened by their beliefs, and they just go for it, which is so anti-normal
Yeah.
female behavior, which I feel is just brilliant. So that's why I like to do those characters.
Another sort of thing that you've been focusing on a lot is Hallyu. I mean, your Twitter account has become essentially a BTS.
It is just that. It is that I do not exist anymore on Twitter. It is just
Yeah.
BTS fan exists on Twitter now. So yeah.
So how do you feel about BTS performing at the United Nations?
I feel so great about that. It's like an impossible story. So I feel very connected to them because of that. Like, who can imagine like 7 boys from Korea are performing at United Nations, performing all over the world, and breaking so many musical records. Like, it's an impossible dream, but they're living it. So if you think of it that way, it's like my impossible dream could also come true. So yeah.
So one approach that you use on Instagram sometimes that I found very interesting is when you're having a sort of serious conversation, you're doing something else while you have that conversation. Like the famous example is when you were talking about trolling, when you took that break, you were doing a makeup sort of tutorial, makeup video alongside it. Is that something just for you, or do you find that your fans also relate to those conversations more? It allows them to sort of think about it in a different way.
Honestly, I'll tell you, I'm not very good at communicating things on the spot, and which is so strange. But anyway, like, it's my profession. But like, if you're communicating like deeper feelings,
So you don't plan, but you also don't communicate on the spot.
yeah, it's weird. Like, deeper, meaningful things, I have to think about it. And I think I can present my thoughts better if they're written rather than if I'm talking to you. But what happened with that moment when I made that video was I found that I was distracted enough with the makeup so that I don't focus on what language I'm using or what punctuations and how I'm talking about the things. It was more for me than anyone else, because it was more for me to also not to dwell too much on my thoughts. I just wanted to get it out there, and I thought it worked for me because I was able to. And I'm telling you, I didn't expect anybody to watch it. I didn't expect, because that's how the damn algorithm is, like it. If it's an Instagram video, IGTV, I don't really think no anybody sees it. But that video blew up like anything, and I honestly didn't expect it to, and it left me feeling so overwhelmed. I couldn't respond to a single comment. I couldn't heart a single comment or even reply saying thank you, because it was too much. I like that was I think that was the first time I received so much attention for one video. So, but yeah, I think that helped me. And honestly, from whatever I've heard from people also, I think it made the video also watchable for people, because it's not just me sitting and telling you about this thing that happened to me. They're also seeing me do makeup, right? Which is like two different, completely different feelings in one. So I think it maybe that's why the viewer may have continued to watch this video, because they also see a makeup look that's happening.
So speaking of trolling, you've always been someone who's very open, sort of emotionally honest on the internet, and that to me, just even thinking about it now, is a scary thought. So how's that experience been? Have you found yourself being a bit more guarded in recent times?
No, never. That is something that has never happened. Going to happen also. There are certain parts of my life that I don't speak about anymore, but it's not because of trolling. It's just because I feel now that you don't need to share everything about your life also. So that's where it comes from. But as someone who's been on the internet since internet existed, this is my one big outlet. Like, this is the one place which has allowed me to be authentically myself, and I've always used it that way. As you evolve with your usage of the internet and social media came into being and all, and then trolling started, as soon as people figured out what I look like, as soon as I started becoming a little more popular. So, like, these are all just part of life, and you just have to may come to terms with it. Last year was really bad, okay, in terms of trolling. It affected me a lot, but even after I made a video about how bad it was, even after all the measures I've taken for self protection, these are not things that will ever end. Like, trolling will, as long as I'm alive, maybe even after, it will not stop. I have spent a lot of my life before the internet guarding myself, like not expressing myself, not letting people know who I am. And I refuse to do that now. Now I'm in my 30s. A 12-year-old boy who's sitting on a computer and calling me whatever he wants to, making memes about me. I've already dealt with the 12-year-old boy when I was 12 years old. So I can't anymore. I have to. I still have to continue being who I am. I'm so grateful for the blog button. I just use it. I use it like I drink water, like a lot, a lot. I use it a lot, and it's okay. We both can exist on the same platform. I cannot stop you, and for sure you cannot stop me. So yeah, I mean, that's where I am today. It still hurts sometimes.
And sometimes when you're an influencer who sort of like really reaches out to people, things can swing the other way also. Like, fans form these parasocial relationships where they have a claim to your time, to your life. Has that ever happened to you? Do you sometimes feel like, guys, you need you to back off? I need space to live my life.
I'm lucky to say that no, that's not happened to me, because I don't think anybody is that interested in my life, because my life is, compared to what other influencers are doing on the internet, my life is the most normal life. Like, my life is literally a viewer's life. I sit in an office, I work for my hours, and on the side I'm making some videos, and that's it. I have nothing else exciting to show you. Like, I have no boyfriend. I'm like, hey, I'm hanging out with this person. All of last year we are just stuck at home. Who am I going to show today? I have no friends to show you. I have nothing going on exciting in my life, which can feel invasive. That's why the people who are regulars on my page, and in fact, I in fact interact with them. If I see them a lot, I do full on DM with them also. Like, we have regular conversations with each other, but never has it ever crossed the line, or never have I felt uncomfortable with the fans' behavior, to be honest. So and I think it's because of how I live my life. It's a very boring life. So, and I'm really okay with that. I think it's the best boring life. So yeah.
So you spoke about last year being particularly bad for trolling, and I think some of that had to do with flavored condoms joke that got picked up. And last year, in general, I feel like for comedians, there's been something of a campaign to kind of target them. Why do you think that particular video pissed off people so much?
It feeds into the stereotype that female comedians can only talk about sex, and that's it. That's why these people who were trolling me, they picked up 2 minutes from a 15-minute long bit, and basis a 2 minute clip. I think it was maybe a minute actually. Basis that clip, they decided that I am the worst comedian. I am really unfunny, and I shouldn't have a platform. Blah blah blah. And then the second part of it is the fact that I'm fat, and oh my god, how can a fat woman talk about sex? Do fat women even have sex? Who's having sex with fat women? Oh my god. So, and also, like, these are just ideas of very young people, very young boys who this is their worldview. So, and then when a stereotype is a stereotype because it's popular. So, because it fed into that, it became the stereotype that Supriya Joshi is just only talks about sex. Not the singer, not the singer. She sings. This Supriya Joshi, and yeah, that's it. That's how I see it. That's why it happened.
Yeah. So fat shaming and body image is another thing that you talk about a lot. Have you read about the Facebook files?
No.
So the Wall Street Journal just released a bunch of internal documents from Facebook, and one of the interesting ones is that Facebook knew for years that it was causing, like, it was contributing to anxiety, body image issues, and depression in teen girls. There's one quote from one of the slides' internal presentations, which says, "We make body image issues worse for 1 in 3 teen girls."
Oh man.
Right? This is Facebook saying it to themselves. So, as someone who talks about these issues a lot and uses Instagram as a platform to talk about this, I mean, how do you feel about these revelations? Like, how can social media platforms and influencers like yourself kind of turn this around or fix this what seems like a major problem now?
I don't think social media platforms honestly will do anything, because feeling bad about yourself, your body image, is what sells everything in this world. So if you take that away, then how will we all exist happily? That's not going to happen. Or if it happens, it's going to take a very long time to get there. It's just unrealistic to think about from a social media um, company's point of view. And I don't think it will ever be a priority for them anyway. But anyway, as far as other influencers go, I think they should really be more open and honest about just themselves. Like, it doesn't even have to be like how are you feeling about your body, but this whole toxic positivity that is so rampant on social media. You are not happy all the time, no one is. So if you were a little more vulnerable, if you were a little showing um, parts of you that are not as chirpy and positive all the time to your audiences, it gives you space to have like some sort of a dialogue with people who will relate to these problems. Because as an influencer, almost your life is unrealistic, but I want to achieve it. That's how it is presented. So if people open up about their lives a little bit more, if they not just life, like how they feel a little bit more, I think it could be a good start to especially younger people not feeling so horrible about themselves. It takes a lot, to reach a point in life where you're like, oh my god, I don't care anymore. That's It takes a lot, but to start that process also, you need to start the process. So which is another difficult thing, because your favorite influencer is looking so good today. She looks great, he looks great, he's presenting this, oh, I went to the gym today, I look amazing. So I want that, but I don't look like that, so I'm going to feel really bad about it. But what if that influencer today said, dude, I'm feeling really bad today because I'm feeling really low today, and you don't understand why. And then you're like, oh, I feel low today, I relate to that. So that is where maybe When people become a bit more realistic, I think is when this whole conversation and change in attitude can start.
There has been some movement towards that, I think, in recent
Okay.
years. There's a lot of people who share, like basically share photos showing how photoshopped their general images
Okay,
is.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very, but it's not
Deep.
enough. I mean, not
Yeah.
too much. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I think that was a trend. They did it while the trend lasted.
See, so like this, it can't be a trend that comes and goes. It has to be a trend that stays forever, and
Yeah.
it's unrealistic even for me to think about. So yeah.
The pandemic forced a lot of comics off the stage, and you, I don't think, have returned to the live stage yet. So, do you miss it? Like, or was this like a fun opportunity to do other stuff you like?
I have done a few Zoom shows. Okay, maybe maybe 10, maybe 10 Zoom shows, and I must, and of those 10, there were, I think, 2 or 3 corporate Zoom shows. They really suck the life out of you. Let me say, live shows are, you still can handle disappointment, but Zoom shows, oh my god, because you are still in an empty room once it's over, and you feel like, what did I do right now? Now, then you go into that whole thing like, do I even want to do this anymore? You go into that stream of thinking, and I still think about this a lot. What do I really want to achieve with stand up? I love being on stage. Okay, I love the command I have over the room when I'm standing on the stage. Those are things I really love. But what I think I don't like is a traditional stand up setting where it's jokes, which is stand up punchline, scenario punchline. I feel like maybe that is not my biggest strength. And I'm saying this today. I don't know tomorrow what I will be doing. But I feel like I want to, if when I do return to stage now, I want to do character work. Now that's something that I've loved doing even on Instagram or social media. But I think I can do well as an alternative comedy side of it. At least with this long, huge 1+ year long break from live shows and just in general, I don't think you can count Zoom shows as shows at all. But like a 1+ long year of no stand up has at least made me realize that this is the kind of stand up that I actually like to do, and I would like to do it.
So, you said you did like 10 shows, out of which 2 or 3 were corporate on Zoom. There's one thing that I noticed, which is that during the lockdown, a lot of the men in comedy seem to focus a lot on Zoom shows. Even the ones who, in the first 2, 3 months, were like, Zoom shows are not real shows, we don't care. They went a lot into Zoom. Women were largely absent from a lot of these shows, and women tended to focus more on social media. I mean, you, Kusha, a lot of them did some amazing work on Instagram and Reels. Why is this dichotomy? Like,
I don't want to generalize, but I feel like men in stand up comedy, their social media game is very weak. That's my this thing, is they don't know how to, like, have you seen a male stand up comedian's social media? It's bad. Like, it's really bad. Like, they don't know how to they will get their views, they will get their hits because they have fans, like they love them. So but like, can they create snackable 30-second reels the way that the women creators are doing? I highly doubt it, and at least I've not seen it. Also, I feel like women just work really harder, and social media is very hard work. So that's why, and that's what they're used to. I'm not saying that Zoom shows aren't, but they, because they suck your soul, but they also pay you. Social media pays you someday.
indirectly.
If I made a post today, I'll get paid. That's not what happens. So yeah, I think that was a very bizarre explanation, but I hope you can understand where I'm coming from. I no hate to anybody. It's just I just haven't seen great Instagram social media content from male comedians.
Yeah, and maybe it's not just the content, right? Instagram, it also requires this sort of engagement, also requires you to, say, be vulnerable, build emotional bonds, engage with your audience regularly.
That's not going to happen. Not at all.
You've also been in a lot of writers' rooms. Is that sort of like a major necessity for? Do you think that's something that comedians should be doing more and will be doing more? especially now that this year and a half has shown them that just depending on live revenue is risky.
Absolutely. Comedians have such great potential to be really good writers. It is something that is natural, like is a natural extension of stand up is writing also. So if that's not something that they've looked into, they should, because they can be great additions to writers room. I have been writing. I have been part of writers rooms since 2016, and I love it. But again, because of pandemic last and this being alone, I realized I actually really love working alone. But I'm not a self starter by any means. So if I have a partner with me, I'll be able to write like, yeah, let's do it. But I want to write alone. So that's how it is. But yeah, I mean, I love writing. I love being part of writers' rooms. I would love to start writing shows now. So that is something that I'm exploring. And yeah, it's just natural for comedians to be part of this life as well.
Yeah, I mean, they especially before the pandemic, there was this little group of people. Like, this is this idea that the traditional purist stand-up comic does only stand-up.
No.
No,
Who's coming up with these rules? We need to speak to the manager.
more like some people presented themselves that way.
Purists are so boring. Please have some fun in life. There's no need to have these hard and fast rules that if you do stand up, you must only do stand up. What are you going to do when that's taken away from you? Will you continue believing in that? That's what happened to us last year. If I was had that agenda, then I would. Where would I be today? Like, please, like, bend your rules. Like, these rules are ridiculous. Maybe they would have worked for like during the Aristotle and Plato zamana, where you only heard what they had to say and do the thing. But come on, it's 2021 now. Let's be flexible, please.
That's all the questions I have for today. Thank you, Supriya. That was a fantastic chat.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.